speaker tonight. We were excited to have him. He's always been a big supporter of our movement down here in Hillsdale. One of our favorite state reps, Steve Carra. Come on up, man. Give him a warm welcome.
It's good to see you all again. I believe this is my second time at this event, maybe third. And I'm the state representative just west of here in St. Joseph and Cass counties. I brought my books today and just want to share with you what those are about. The first one's called True Gretchen. And the reason I wrote the book is because Gretchen Whitmer wrote a book called True Gretchen. And it was a little over a year ago. I heard she was writing her book. She was going to talk about how she responded to COVID-19, the kidnapping plot against her, Donald Trump, abortion. And I was thinking to myself, oh wow, I want to write that book for her. So that was, I believe it was early March when I found out she was writing her book. And I was about 70% to write it. And then slowly that number was going down over the course of about 5 or 6 weeks. And then I had an individual who was interested in an unpaid internship in my office. And in the interview, I just asked him, where do you envision yourself being in 10 years? And he said, well, I love to write and I want to do something in politics. Whoa. I was like, well, that's interesting. So I finished the interview and then I went and I talked to my wife about it and I was like, Aubrey, this Trevor guy, he says he loves to write and I've been wanting to write that book, and Gretchen Whitmer's book comes out on July 9th. And I'm a competitive guy, and if I'm going to do it, my book needs to come out first. And I was like, this Trevor guy, I think he can help me write the book. And we had 5 weeks to do it. So the process we went through with that is I assigned him 2 chapters per week for 3.5 weeks. So he wrote 7 chapters in terms of the first draft. Meanwhile, I wrote 5 chapters in the first draft. On Sundays, I'd spend an hour and a half, which I don't like to work on Sundays, but when you're writing a book in 5 weeks, you have to work on Sundays. And so I'd spend an hour and a half on Sundays just looking up, some of the main concepts I wanted for the 2 chapters, just bullet point where I wanted him to go with it, and just kind of gave him the foundation. And after about 3 days of that first week, I reviewed where he was going with what he was writing. And the first 3 sentences were a very good start for me because 2 of them he captured well because we were looking for parody. These books are written in the first person, so it sounds as if it's Gretchen Whitmer writing the book. And 2 of the 3 were right on in terms of the concept, but the third one missed the mark. And I explained to him for about 2 or 3 minutes how that third sentence was missing the angle and the vision that I had. And I could feel the light bulb go off in his head. He's like, I get it. He saw the vision for what I was looking for. And he continued on from there. He wrote the 7 chapters. I wrote the 5. After 3.5 weeks, then we went into a 72-hour period where we went through every single line by line, every comma, every period, every word, every semicolon, over the phone for 72 hours. We slept, but they were about 14-hour days, and that was our process for writing. And we had other proofreaders, and my mom, my wife, about 3 other people who did the proofreading. But this was not a process of hiring some professional writer and paying them $20,000 to write a book for you and you slap your name on it. This was me right there in the trenches. Yes, I had help. I'm admitting I had help, but I was heavily involved in the writing of the book, and so was Trevor. The rest of it was nice to have the other help, but it was the 2 of us. And so that was the process with that. It came out July 2nd. We did beat Gretchen Whitmer, and I was writing another book before that called True Freedom. And True Freedom, I'm working on probably starting in about a month and a half. It'll be a while before that's out yet. True Freedom is just going to go through just different story problems, whether it's what they're doing to our kids in the schools, the unconstitutional shutdowns, all kinds of things. Abortion, that's one of my favorite topics to talk about freedom on, because it's your freedom to pursue happiness until you infringe on somebody else's rights. 96% of biologists are willing to admit that it's a life in the womb from the moment of conception. So I'll make the freedom argument that you should be pro-life if you believe in the non-aggression principle. And so I want to go to college campuses and debate college kids about that. And so, yeah, let's talk about freedom. Sure, you want to talk about abortion? Let's talk about abortion. And what do you think? So that's should be to rob a bank? Of course you're not allowed to rob a bank. Why should you be to steal somebody's money? Of course you can't steal somebody's money. Why should you be allowed to steal somebody's life? And so anyway, so wrote on those main topics that I knew Gretchen Whitmer was going to write about in her book. And then True Freedom was getting ready to write that, and then we found out that JOCELYN Benson, who of course is running for governor now, our Secretary of State, she's writing a book. And her book is going to be called The Purposeful Warrior. And I'm like, well, I already wrote True Gretchen, and I've been planning this True series, so True Gretchen and True Freedom, and I'm eventually going to write True Problems and True Solutions. And True Solutions is going to be that's going to be my dynamic book. That's going to be the biggest. But when I heard she was writing The Purposeful Warrior, Trevor had the idea. He's the one who came up with the title of The Purposeful Fraudster. So it's True JOCELYN, The Purposeful Fraudster. So we're sticking with the True series. We got into Purposeful Fraudster to mirror her Purposeful Warrior. The first chapter is The Purposeful Warrior. The conclusion is The Purposeful Fraudster, with 18 chapters in between. Just a couple examples. I won an election lawsuit against JOCELYN Benson, so I tell the story about how that went down prior to the 2020 election. I had a couple of other things in there that were personal. But when I was looking at, so there's not too much on the elections in True Gretchen. True JOCELYN is very much election focused. True Gretchen gets into a myriad of different issues. It's not single issue focused. So if you want to read more about the elections, I'd encourage you to look into True JOCELYN. If you want to look at more of just overall everything else, than True Gretchen. But I don't want to give away too much of the other stuff that's in the book, in the two books. But I normally sell them. They're $20 for one, or two for $35. Josh bought the first book for $20, so since he invited me here, I'm giving you guys the opportunity to buy the second. Your first book is $15 because Josh bought the first one for you, so for himself, not for all of you, to be clear. But I'm giving you the deal of $15 a piece, so $30 for two instead of $35 if you want each. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have about the books or about anything that's going on in Lansing. If you want a legislative update brief, yes.
Did you send a copy to all the Democrats?
Well, I have not given one to JOCELYN Benson yet for her book. And her book came out, May 6th. So mine came out May 5th. And I had a lot more time to write True JOCELYN, by the way. But it's harder when you're in the majority. Because when I did it in 5 weeks for True Gretchen, that was when we were in the minority. I wasn't on committees, I had all kinds of time. True JOCELYN, when you're in majority, I had about 5 months, but busy on committees and a lot more work to do. But I did give Gretchen Whitmer a copy, and Gretchen Whitmer's copy, I said she was my inspiration. So I signed that copy to her because she was my inspiration for the book. She gave me a lot of good content.
Steve, if you were a true optimist, you'd sign those books, you'd send them to the Scots facility so that they can read them when they get in prison. I'm just saying.
Very good. Well, maybe you can help me send one today.
Did
Yes.
Gretchen Whitmer, did she reply to you and thank you for your book?
Well, I dropped it off at her office, so I did see her a little bit after that, and she looked pretty uncomfortable when she saw me in the hallway, and that was entertaining. But she doesn't want to let people know about my book. Her best play is just to ignore, and that's what she's doing publicly. But she does complain about me to our leadership from time to time.
Do you plan to go for the trifecta and write about the third member of the coven?
So that he means Dana Nessel, our Attorney General. And she has her spot in True Gretchen, and that's my wife Aubrey's favorite part. It's on Muscle Lives Matter. I'll let you read about mussels, what that's about. But muscle, like the mussels in the water.
Out of curiosity, how many have you sold so far?
True Gretchen, just a little under 1,000. True JOCELYN's only been out for less than a month. So that one, I've sold less, a lot less of True JOCELYN. This is actually my first event where I'm going to be selling, more than just one here or there. So I'm assuming this if you guys are buying them.
What's the impeachment on Jocelyn look like right now?
So Jim DeSena, a colleague of mine, introduced articles of impeachment earlier this week, and in terms of making the decision on whether or not to co-sponsor, I figured because of my book and how hard I hit her in my book, I felt like I wasn't called to co-sponsor. So I'm very supportive of what Jim DeSena is doing and the others who are on that. She has more election-related losses or unfavorable outcomes than any other Secretary of State in Michigan's history. She's a serial election lawsuit loser. And I'm the one who broke that news, that she has more unfavorable outcomes than anybody else. That was my research that discovered that. And so I certainly have done my part, but I believe my part is staying off of that impeachment. Just so you guys all know, that's why I'm not on there, but I'm supportive. I just think I can hammer her harder with my book because I'm
Just
not.
overall, what's it look like? I mean, what's the attitude? Are we hopeful? Do you think we're gonna get enough?
If there were 58 of me in the House, which there's 58 Republicans, if there were 58 of me, we would do the impeachment and go through and have hearings in the House. We wouldn't do it for just 1 week, we'd do it for 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks, just hammer her week after week after week. That's what I would do, but there aren't 58 of me, so.
That's
But
why I'm asking what your big noise is.
But there certainly is support beyond those who are sponsors on the articles of impeachment, me included. I felt called to stay off of it, but to support the process because of my book. Yes?
The governor walking out of our president's office didn't look very happy. Do you think they're going to wind up hanging her for treason?
Yeah, I don't know. It is a little bit interesting how much, and she was in the car there with President Trump a month or so ago too, when President Trump came to town. And I don't know what's going on with all of that. I'm interested to see how it plays out, but Gretchen Whitmer and JOCELYN Benson are more of the corporate elitist, cronyist, special interest group, lobby corps type of elected officials. Dana Nessel's a little bit different. She's more of a Bernie Sanders, far left extremist ideologically. Now Gretchen Whitmer and JOCELYN Benson are there on some of the social issues too, but Dana Nessel's more of just that activist mindset, more with the Bernie Sanders bros. JOCELYN and Gretchen are, what do the special interest groups want? How do I get it for them? So she's angling as if she's more moderate and more reasonable and getting closer with President Trump and talking with him, but then still kind of playing both sides and acting like she doesn't really like to be seen with him, but still kind of doing it, is kind of making her look more moderate, which is all a facade to set up her preparation to consider, of course, running for president. So that's what's at play there. Any other questions?
Can you talk to some of the people that did sponsor that?
I don't know who else co-sponsored. Are you talking about the articles of impeachment?
Yeah.
I don't remember the numbers. I know there were several, but Jim DeSena is the lead sponsor. Do you by chance know the other one off the top of your head? Does anybody know?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I got it.
I'm wondering if Matt Maddox on there probably.
Yeah, Matt
Oh.
Maddox is on there.
Okay, so Matt Maddock,
Josh Schreiber.
and okay, Josh Schreiber. Yeah.
Did Regus or Smith or Copley?
I don't know. Don't know.
Just out of curiosity, in reference to like the election stuff, Patrick Goldbeck wrote a book called The 2020 Coup. Have you read that?
Yeah, I traded him a True Gretchen for a 2022.
You noticed a spot on our Stephanie Scott in that book?
What's that?
Have you read the book 2020 Coup by Goldbeck?
No, but I know my name's on there.
You're in
I've got
like,
a copy.
yeah, you're in more than just your name.
His books are thick. I've
You've
read
got
some
about
of it.
6 pages.
It's a lot to get through.
6 or 8 pages in there.
Yeah.
So it's DeSena, Schreiber, Markinen, Green, Maddox,
Marketing Jamie Green.
Fox, and Smith.
Jamie Green or Phil Green?
GRETCHEN.
Oh, with an E at the end. Yeah, that's Jamie Green then. And who else?
Fox and Smith.
Oh, Rochelle Smith and Joe Fox. Okay, yeah, good. A decent number there. A decent number there.
That's a good range too.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, marketing all the way in the UP, and then Jim DeSena in Monroe County. We got the whole state covered between the two of them and a few in between.
There's a few clerks up there that got in trouble too, so.
Yeah. Anything else? I think that might be it. I'll be in the back there. Again, the books are $15 for one, or well, $15 a piece. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we know that there's a swamp in Lansing, and we're thankful for folks like Steve out there fighting the good fight for our values and our beliefs. So thank you very much. Definitely support him if you can tonight with those books.